Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
The upstairs neighbor was very upset that people were parking in his spot, to the point where we had an altercation and he punched me in the face.
Are you kidding? Seriously? Were the police called?
This is the plaintiff, Douglas Spangenberg. He says he rented a furnished barbershop from the defendant, and after being a great tenant for 4 years, the guy kicked him out because he found out he was looking at other spaces to rent. Now the sore loser refuses to return his security deposit or pay him for the 3 new barber chairs he purchased. He's suing for $2,300 for his deposit and barber chairs. This is the defendant, Hisham S.C. He says the plaintiff caused major damage to his premises by adding additional stations. He left heaps of garbage behind and all the walls needed to be painted. The damages are in excess of the monies he withheld. And if anyone's owed money today, it's not the plaintiff. He's accused of trimming a tenant. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,905.66, the amount he's owed for additional repairs.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you're about to witness is real. The litigants are not actors. They are involved in legitimate disputes, and they have agreed to have those disputes settled here in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay. Mr. Spangenberg, you are suing Mr. Essie, your former landlord, for your security back, plus some items that you left behind that he was supposed to purchase and didn't pay for. You have a counterclaim against him, Mr. Essie, for damages that you say he did when he left the property. Let's start with you, Mr. Spangenberg. You were renting that place for how many years?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I rented from February 2015 until January 2nd, 2020.
Okay. And what kind of business concern were you running there?
It was a barbershop. When I came in, it was 2 chairs and later became 5.
Okay. So at some point during the tenancy, you request permission to take down a closet and be able to add more chairs, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we went from 2 chairs to 4, and then later we added the 5th. That's correct.
And okay, and Mr. Essie, you agree that you gave permission for the other 3 chairs to come in, right?
I did. Correct, Your Honor. Okay.
So then by the time you decide, why is it that you decided to terminate the tenancy and leave and find a different space?
We were at capacity. It was a 400 square foot spot. We overgrew it. Also, I wasn't very happy with the landlord, with the other tenants. There were some dust ups, which could have been handled peaceably, and I just didn't feel like I got a fair shake. I moved it a block and a half down the street to a bigger spot.
Okay, what was a dust up with the tenants about?
Parking, always parking. The upstairs neighbor was very upset that people were parking in his spot, to the point where we had an altercation and he punched me in the face.
Are you kidding? Seriously? Were the police called?
He's a 65-year-old man. I didn't want to get it involved. I did call the police after he tried to break into the shop after an altercation with the music that he thought it was too loud. I agreed, and then he just kept pushing.
All right. So you got to go, and you left. Now, at some point, you communicate with the landlord to see if he wants to purchase, what is it, the 3 extra chairs?
Exactly. What had happened was I told him I was leaving. He didn't like the timeline in which I was leaving. So I negotiated an extra couple months. He wanted me out in October. I negotiated until basically January 2nd. I paid a premium of $300.
What's basically January 2nd? December 31st? Were you supposed to leave December 31st?
No, we negotiated for January 2nd.
It was always the 2nd. Okay, got it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the exit agreement was I would leave 2 stations. He asked me to leave an additional 3 stations. To wit, I charged. I said I would leave those stations if he.
Okay, so I've read the text. I've read all the text.
Okay.
So you guys supposedly the deal was that you were going to sell him the other stations for
Yes, ma'am.
And a sign-in counter for a total of $1,300. Is that correct, Mr. Essie?
We didn't agree upon the price. There's 2 counters in the sign-in table. He told me a price in the text. The words I said were okay. Let's see what's going to happen at the walkthrough. But there was no chairs. Chairs were not involved. It was just a long Formica counter and a butcher block counter.
What were you going to pay for that?
I was going to see him in person, and if he left me with a vanilla box and everything was in good shape, I would have given him the $1,300 he had asked for, Your Honor.
Okay, and you're the one, oddly, Mr. Spangenberg, you're the one who keeps saying in text, I'm only going to sell these to you if you give me every penny of my security deposit, right?
Yes.
And in fact, when he says, I'm not going to give you your security back because you did damage after you move, and he says, I have tons of damage here and I'm not going to give you your security back, then you say, well, then you can't buy that stuff. Did you ever go and take that stuff away? Go back and get it?
I didn't.
Because it's you in the text saying, I don't want, forget it, I'm not selling it to you.
I didn't know what my legal right was to go in and take stations that are huge, and I don't know. I guess I could have done that. I was hoping that we could have come to an agreement peaceably.
Well, I don't know. I've read these texts. I don't think the two of you should be buying or selling anything from each other. You've had lots of run-ins before this time, and the idea that you two could do anything peaceably is kind of crazy. So let's talk about some of these texts. Okay, before move out, he asks, can we do 1,000? You say the stations with the tops they have now for 1,000? He says, you said you were putting Formica tops. What top's on there now? You had a temporary top? Then you say for new tops, 1,300. What does that mean? What tops were there?
They were custom butcher block, and I wanted to use the butcher block in my new shop, so I took the tops off of the shop, off of the stations.
Right. So what is it that you expect to get $1,300 for? Exactly what did you leave behind?
I left behind the bottoms, the stations that were custom fit to that space. With they have drawers, places all for your clippers and tools, as well as the Formica tabletops that I purchased before. Those are all brand new tops that I bought.
Okay, but hold on a second. You put Formica tops on the part that stayed. You took the butcher block with you?
Yes, and he knew that was going to happen, though.
So what are you saying he agreed to pay for just the cabinets?
I said for $1,300, I would supply new countertops, the Formica countertops, as well as a butcher block sign-in station.
Okay, and did you?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, is there any question, let me ask you, Mr. Essie, is there any question that he did leave behind what it is that you were going to buy?
Not exactly the way we discussed it, Your Honor. I
don't know what you mean. You keep saying that, but I don't know how it's different. How is it different than what I see in the text?
So he left. He did install Formica counters. Now, I had originally left Formica counters when he rented out the location. It was a 2-chair shop. It was big enough to add 3 chairs. He expanded it for me. He did put in Formica countertops that were not properly installed.
Let me ask you a question, though. Do you have another tenant in there now?
I do.
Oh, and that guy's using this stuff?
Correct. In the same way that I left him with stuff for him to rent out my shop.
Yes, correct. I understand that. But then why would it be appropriate for you not to pay him for that stuff? Are you saying that the reason you didn't is because he owes you so much money in damages?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, so then, according to you, there is more than you have $1,000 in a security deposit and $1,300 you were supposed to pay him. That amounts to $2,300 on your side. According to you, you have more than $2,300 worth of damages. Is that correct?
I have the total for the damage was $2,800 plus $140 $5.66 utility bill.
Okay,
So
now I
the
want you
total
to
for that-
show me $2,800 in damages. Let's talk about that. What did he damage?
Okay. So you have that photo there. It's unpainted. You also have
What part is
photos,
that?
that's the station where there's mirrors in front of those lights. There's
When you
usually
handed it over to him, were there mirrors?
Yes.
And what did he do? He stole the mirrors?
He didn't put back the mirrors I gave him. He did leave mirrors on the floor in the place, but each one was chipped in every corner. Why
didn't you put up? I'm sorry, but if you're supposed to hold on, Mr. Essie, Mr. Spangenberg, you're smirking, but the truth of the matter is that even if you make improvements to a place, you have an obligation to leave it in the condition that they gave it to you in. So mirrors are supposed to be up there. Why did you leave that work for him?
Welcome back to the People's Court. The plaintiff is saying that the defendant went after him with a vengeance after he found out that he was looking for different space at a different barbershop because he needed more. The defendant saying this guy was a mess, a disaster. Let's go back into the courtroom.
Your Honor, I left mirrors. However, that wall was, the spackle was still wet. And if I put the mirrors up, the holes were there. All he had to do was
so you mean you ran out of time because you waited too long to spackle? That's your answer? I mean, you're supposed to leave it, so that's on you. So the mirrors, how much did it cost you to put up the mirrors, Mr. Essie?
Well, in order to put up the mirrors, Your Honor, I had to paint and I had to fill in the holes and the cracks in the wall. That was $1,600.
Okay, I'm looking at pictures, Mr. Essie, of damages to the walls. I see that there's something ripping in this one. What am I looking at here?
This is a wall that had a mirror. This is a wall that was in front of a sign-in area, and he removed a mirror and paneling and left me with that.
And is that because he had paid for those and he had taken down the stuff you had, and then instead of leaving them behind, he took them with him?
He took them with him. He also, I think he was also angry in the past because he heard another barbershop was coming because he opened another shop down the road. And he removed everything and just left whatever was behind there. So you have the damage to the wall that needed to be sanded and painted.
Wow. How do you leave the place looking like this? That's not how it was handed to you. You know that, Mr. Spangenberg.
That's true. I don't understand. He took everything and left. I left exactly what
Okay,
he said.
why don't you look at the pictures, okay? Like, this is part of what he means by it. Take a look at the picture. You think the next person can move in and get up to speed at that moment if you leave it like that? Why did you take what was up on the wall? Did it belong to you? Are you the one who paid for what was up on the walls?
What was on the wall was a mirror, and I didn't take the mirrors. I left.
Yes, but when you attach, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Is this how you left it? Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
Right. So now, do you understand the kind of work and time that has to go into making this able to be turned over to the next tenant? I'm not surprised that he said you're not getting your $1,000 security back.
I understand that. I did offer to come in the next day and take care of it because I was running late.
Yeah, but see, it doesn't work that way. I love when tenants say that. I told him if there was a problem, I'd take care of it. No, you're supposed to leave with it taken care of. There's bad blood between you guys. Why would he want you back there when the tenancy's over and somebody else is supposed to be moving in? The whole thing is a recipe for disaster. Unbelievable. This is just unbelievable. Damage to walls. Damage to the siding. Tell me about this. This is where his sign used to be, Mr. Essie?
Okay. This is where a sign used to be. We had a discussion that if he removed the sign, he either has to leave a blank sign to keep the holes from being there or at least fix that issue.
Why did you leave all of these nails in there?
I asked him if he wanted me to plug up the holes or leave the original bolts because he didn't want more holes in the wall, and he said to leave the bolts.
Weren't you supposed to leave the sign?
I asked if he wanted me to leave the sign, and he told me not to.
Okay, show me the text where he says no. Tell me what date.
I don't think I submitted.
Hold on one
the
second.
text. I can't. I'm sorry.
Oh, if you didn't submit the text, how am I going to know about it? All right. Now, let's see some more of the damage. Okay, let's see some more of the damage here. Hold on.
That's the bathroom. That's a tub in the bathroom.
Why would you leave it looking like that, Mr. Spangenberg?
To be honest, I thought he was going to give me time to come back and clean it. I thought by the time we were
Why would he come back and clean it? You're already there till January 2nd. Your time's up.
You're right.
You can't possibly think anybody's ever going to tolerate as an answer, oh, I thought he'd give me time to do what I didn't feel like doing, which I was supposed to do before I left. Those are the damages in the bathroom. These are the damages to the floor. I guess that's where the closet wall was
from the mats. Correct. That's where the closet was. Those are stains on the floor that needed to be buffed out. That's hair left in the vents that were never blown out, that we smelled burning when we went to go turn it on to test it to make sure it worked.
This is damage to the siding. We talked about the sign. And this hole in the wall is where?
In the bathroom.
Bathroom.
You're going to paint the walls and we'll meet at 11 on the 2nd, or do you want to do the 1st? And you say to him, Mr. Spangenberg, this deal is contingent on me getting 100% of my security deposit back. If you take any of it back, I'm taking the stations with me. Is there any doubt that he knew how he was going to left it? Okay, are we meeting on the 1st or the 2nd? TBD. He tries to talk to you about getting paid. You say to him, talk to my lawyer. He says, there's a $2,800 invoice solely for fixing repairs for the damages you made. Do you have proof that you paid the $2,800 that you're talking about?
That one, I don't have a receipt for that, because what I ended up doing was taking the $2,800 and I deducted it from the new tenants, because they have a contractor. We deducted it from their new lease. So I ended up breaking it over time.
Do you have proof that you did that?
Yes.
How would you be able to? No, wait. How would you be able to prove that?
I could send you a copy of their lease if you'd like. Also,
Mr. Essie, if I see a rent reduction on the lease, how will I know that it has to do with the construction?
That I can't say that it's on the lease. There's certain attachments on the lease.
Yeah, you see, I deal in proof, so I want to see proof, or else I'm going to do what I do best, which is guess. Okay, now you have a counterclaim against him where you're suing for $105.66, which you agree you owe, but you keep saying over and over again that I'm not paying that till you give me my money on the other stuff, along with a lot of other very colorful language of things that you are calling him in your anger. What I'd like to know is this. That is your utility bill. You don't deny that, right?
No, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. You, sir, say there's $2,905.66 worth of damages, minus $1,000 for the security deposit, leaves $1,905.66 that you're suing him for here today. But you're not taking into account at all the fact that you have $1,300 worth of stuff that he left, which, yes, maybe I deduct because it wasn't in great shape. I saw what you were trying to tell me, but why would you get to keep it entirely? What you should be doing is telling him remove all this stuff. If the new tenant is using it, the new tenant is using it. So why is it you shouldn't also give him credit for the $1,300? That's what I don't understand.
Because the things he put in there weren't properly put in there. The quality wasn't nowhere near what I left him. The mirrors that I did leave him with were custom.
Then why don't you ever say in a text, if that's the reason, then why don't you ever say in a text, pick up your stuff?
Why don't I see all?
Yeah.
He never showed up to the walkthrough one. Sorry to say, he never showed up to the walkthrough one. For the past 4 years, it's been a nightmare with the fact that he had an altercation with everybody, including
Okay, I don't want to hear this. I asked you a very simple question. Did you? If your answer is, I didn't want this stuff because it's worthless, then I expect to see a text from you where you say to him, come and pick up your stuff. I'm not buying it. It's worthless. But it's not worthless. You and I both know it's not worthless. And instead, everybody here just acts out of their own self-interest. And you decided you would keep the stuff and your next tenant would use it. And you weren't going to pay him because, as you told me earlier, I'm not going to lose more money. He owes me all this money. So you were holding that money hostage to the damages, which I get. You're not supposed to do that. But I'll sort this all now, and I will be giving him credit for the $1,300. So if he owes you $2,905.66 and you have $2,300 on your side, then that means that he owes you a net judgment for the damages in the amount of $605.66. I am finding in the defendant's favor for a net judgment of $605.66. Verdict for the defendant.
So the defendant prevails, surprisingly. Let's talk to the plaintiff, Mr. Spangenberg. Mr. Spangenberg, what do you think just happened?
Hi.
How would you describe it?
It's baloney. He didn't fix the things that he charged me for.
Well, that's the judge's decision. I'm sorry, you're going to have to live with it, okay? He's going to get
I'll live with it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. S.A., you won the case, not by much, but you won. How do you feel about it now? This is quite an involved case.
Sir, the biggest win is the fact that this guy is out of my life. To be honest with you, I know there's a virus going on right now, and it's scary. But to me, this guy was like the virus in my life, and I finally got a cure for it.
Yeah. Well, very interesting indeed. All right, congratulations. He's like a virus. That's a pretty interesting description. All right, that'll wrap it up for this case. Fascinating case. Let's join Judge Milian and her husband, Judge John, now for more of After the Verdict.
Marilyn, sometimes as a judge, you sit there and you hear a case and there's just stuff getting flung all around the courtroom and it's just this big mess, and you try to sort it out and find some kind of rough justice out of this mess. And it's I get the sense that that's kind of what you were trying to do here.
All the time. That's like my job all day long, both at home and at work. But, you know, the thing is, like, these two guys, I have a very distinct sense that both of them were very in it for themselves. And it was contentious from way back. And all of a sudden, they're negotiating purchasing something. I mean, that was a recipe for disaster as it is. And you know that as I sat there and I showed each picture of how...
They kind of played each other.
They do. They played each other. They're both players. But there was a very significant amount of damage. When he says,
question.
well, he hasn't fixed any of it, that's really not up to you, is it?
No.
I mean, the issue is, do I get that much in damage because you created that much in damage?
And when you're a tenant, whether it's a commercial space or a home, you do improvements without the landlord's permission and assent at your own risk. You don't know at the end of the day whether you're going to have to destroy it all, make it exactly as it is, or it's going to be deemed some sort of an improvement and the landlord's not.
And to be honest with you, the fault was really of the defendant when he gave him, because the defendant acknowledges he gave him permission to expand. What he should have done is, in writing, said, you can expand all you want, but those are fixtures and they stay with the property.
Right.
And he had leverage to kind of negotiate that then, and he didn't.
And there you have it. Rough justice.
Well, Maria, you can prosecute somebody for perjury in small claims, but the reality is there are so many lies told in courts and small claims courts that prosecutors just don't have the time or resources to prosecute every one. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This is the plaintiff, Kenneth Adams. He says he purchased a treadmill from the defendant, paid him in cash. Then the guy refused to allow him in his home to take the treadmill. That's right, the strange man wouldn't let him take what he just paid for. He refuses to be robbed and is suing for the return of the $500 he gave him. This is the defendant, Christopher Paul Ross. He says he let this man into his house on numerous occasions to disassemble the treadmill because it wouldn't fit through the front door unless it was taken apart. Every time the plaintiff came, he had the wrong tools. Then he got sick with the flu and was out of commission for 3 and 4 weeks. After that, his friend came with the plaintiff's receipt he gave him to get the treadmill, and he thinks the guy is trying to pull a scam. He's accused of giving no access.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that he was going to buy a treadmill from the defendant, and the guy is not giving it to him, and he has his money. Now, the defendant's saying he gave the guy plenty of opportunities to come pick up the treadmill, but he didn't do it, so tough. It's the case of they set you on a treadmill, and they made you change your name.
Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Adams, you were on a website called OfferUp, where people get to sell things that they no longer have a use for, correct? And you found the defendant's advertisement to buy a Nordic track for how much?
$500.
Okay. And then what happens? When do you pick up the Nordic track?
Okay, so in the sales agreement, it stipulated that arrangements would be made to pick up the treadmill at a later time, meaning I wasn't taking it with me at that time. I came the next day to get the treadmill, and I had a friend with me who owned a truck, and he volunteered to help. He was going to put the treadmill on the truck. Mr. Ross had told me that he had the tools necessary to disassemble the machine. He said that it wasn't complicated. Now, apparently on the way over to his house, he sent me a text saying he didn't have the tool. And I didn't see the text until he told me about it because I had my text shut off because I was driving. So
All right, so you get there and he tells you, I don't know how to take it apart. So that day you don't take the treadmill, correct?
That's right.
All right. So you figured that you'd make arrangements at some later time to get the treadmill. So I see in a series of texts that you're trying to make those arrangements. And what happens, Mr. Adams?
Well, what happens is it's a series of non-responses and then a response. We set up a date, then either the date gets canceled or no one's there when I show up. So I went over to the house 3 or 4 times, 3 or 4 different arrangements to come over to get the...
Each time that you went to the house, was it prearranged?
Yes. Well, no. I went 2 or 3 times unprearranged because I wasn't making much progress. I had with me the tools and everything, so I figured, okay, if I show up and he's home, then we could talk about it and perhaps I could do it right on the spot. So I had 3 or so unprearranged meetings. I had 3, probably 4 arranged meetings that were either canceled in advance or were just not responded to. I showed up and no one was there.
Okay, well, let me ask you, Mr. Ross, what's going on? Because I do look at the text and I see that. Oh, well, before I go to you, Mr. Ross, Mr. Adams, what ends up happening?
Well, what ends up happening is Mr. Ross said he would have a friend come and disassemble the machine and put it in his garage. And then I could simply show up with my friend. It would be easy to load that onto the truck. And that would
Did you ever get the treadmill, Mr. Adams? Did you ever get the treadmill? Yes or no?
No, I never got the treadmill.
Did you ever talk to the defendant about, hey, where's my treadmill? Did you ever communicate with him again, or did he just ghost on you?
Well, after about a month, he stopped responding. So
just totally stopped responding?
Yeah, he stopped responding.
Mr. Ross, what's going on?
Your Honor, a complete fabrication of what he just said. I don't remember. He on February 5th, he came by and we settled on an agreement for $500 to be arranged to be picked up at a later date. About a week later,
right? You got the $500, right?
Yeah, because he
okay, go on. What happened to the treadmill?
So a guy came with a receipt that I took a picture of the receipt. And he came with that receipt, the picture of it, and said, I'm the friend that he was supposed to come pick it up with. And the friend took it with his son, loaded it up in his SUV and took it away.
I'm sorry, you sold a treadmill to Mr. Adams and you gave it to someone else who you didn't know without talking to Mr. Adams to verify that Mr. Adams was in fact okay with that? Why would you release Mr. Adams' property to someone else?
He said he was going to show up with a friend and the friend had the receipt.
He said he was going to show up with a friend. But he didn't show up with that friend, even according to your story. And why is it that I see text after text where you're not showing up at the appointed hour, where you're not there, where you make a plan and then you cancel it? Why am I seeing that? What did you do? Did you sell that thing a second time?
No, ma'am, I did not. No. I got sick shortly after he was supposed to pick it up. So for 2 weeks, I was in bed sick. Just as I was getting better, this guy texted
So just as you're getting better, some complete stranger says to you, I am here on Mr. Adams' behest to pick up Mr. Adams.
No, he had the receipt.
So do you call Mr. Adams? Because Mr. Adams isn't sick. And you know how to get a hold of Mr. Adams. So do you say, Mr. Adams, hey, Mr. Adams, did you give authority to this person to pick up the treadmill? Did you call Mr. Adams and ask him that? No, so you just gave the treadmill to somebody?
I said, as long as you have the receipt, we're good to go. And he had the exact same
Here's the problem. What if I don't believe you? See? So, Mr. Adams, did you send someone else to go pick up your treadmill? And do you have the treadmill in your house and you're happy and you use it and you work out every day, but you decided to go through the effort of coming to court, filing a lawsuit and chasing him to get $500 back, even though you're happy and the contract was resolved? Did you send somebody over there?
No, I didn't. In fact, I only saw the last time I saw the treadmill was on February 6th when we tried to pick it up and didn't have the proper equipment. And you're right, there was a series of delays. And in fact, he mentioned that he was sick with the flu, and he said that he had been in the hospital for that time. So
I see a text from Mr. Adams to you, Mr. Ross, where he says, I'm sure you don't feel well today. Sounds like the flu that's going around. Yeah. This is on February 15th. I'm sure you know the drill, rest, fluids, aspirin, Tylenol. Thanks for getting your buddy to help out. Hear from you soon when you're better. 5 days he waits. And he asks you, how are you? Better, I hope. Where do things stand with the treadmill? Later on, 5 hours later, so what's going on with the treadmill? The next day, he texts you and says, am I going to get a response? What's going on with the treadmill? The 22nd, he says, I stopped by your house to work on disassembling the treadmill, but you weren't home. I see that you put the trash out, so I presume that you're still alive and not in the hospital. I need to have access to the treadmill to disassemble it. This has been dragging on for too long. If I can't get access, you will need to return my money. You don't respond. Why aren't you responding to any of his texts?
Because when I'm sick, Judge, I turn my phone on silent and I just recuperate.
Okay,
sleep through my
that's
recovery.
great. All right, but let me ask you a question. The day that you answer the door to the mystery man, I'm presuming that at that point you have your telephone and you're seeing all of this communication. Why don't you ever answer him? 226, stopped by your house yesterday and today. No one was home. If I don't hear from you, I'll be contacting the police. Then you answer, I've been in the hospital after my flute exploded. Flu episode, I think is what you meant. You wrote flute, but you meant flu episode. With a very bad case of pneumonia. I just got out of the hospital. He got home 30 minutes ago. If you want, you can come over this weekend and get the treadmill. Give me a day or two to recuperate and get my strength back. He says to you, I'm glad to hear you're back at home and on the road to full recovery. I'll come over Sunday, let's say noon. You don't answer. On Sunday, he texts you, he says, I'll be there shortly. You don't answer. He then texts you again. He says, I'm at your house as we arranged. You don't answer. He then texts you again. Are you home? What's going on? And that is the last of the communication. So tell me then, according to your answer to the complaint, you do get texts from him after you release the treadmill to Mystery Man, right?
No, not at all. Because
yes, you do. You do. And let's read your answer to the complaint.
Because after the guy picked up the treadmill, I deleted the text
When I was better, someone was saying that they were the plaintiff's friend. They texted that they were going to pick up the treadmill for the plaintiff. Can I see that text? Show me that text.
Well, I don't have that phone anymore, actually.
Oh, what a coinkydink. Since the plaintiff was always planning to come with a friend, this didn't seem out of the ordinary for me. Then when the friend came, he showed me the actual physical receipt, so I let him take the treadmill. 2 weeks later, the plaintiff texted me saying he'd like to come and get the treadmill. But that was weird, because he's already had someone pick it up. So because I don't trust him or what he was doing, I told him that someone had already come to get it, and I blocked his number. No, you didn't. Because I don't see that text. Did he ever text you and tell you that someone already picked it up?
No, I never got
Mr. Adams?
a message of that sort.
No, because he didn't send it. So why don't you show me the text where you tell him, what are you talking about? Somebody already picked it up. Instead of just disappearing and hoping this would all go away.
But I didn't send him a text saying that.
That's your answer to the complaint. What do you think I do? Make this stuff up? That's exactly your answer to the complaint. Listen, let me tell you something, Mr. Ross. Even assuming I believe the story you are telling me, which I do not, the negligence on your part of handing this man's treadmill to someone else is so vast that I would make you return the money anyway. You can't just hand the treadmill to someone else when this guy is on it like white on rice, nonstop, constantly texting you, trying to pick it up, trying to pick it up, trying to pick it up, trying to pick it up. If you had seriously thought that this man was sent, whoever you sold it to a second time, where you're telling me, oh, it was sent by him, it was his envoy. If you really thought that, you would have texted him and you'd be able to show it to me now where he gave you authority. It is incredibly reckless to give it to someone who doesn't have authority. But by the way, I don't think that's what you did. I think you sold it again. So here's what's going to happen. You, Mr. Ross, are going to pay Mr. Adams his $500. You're also going to give him pre-judgment statutory interest from February 5th, and you're going to pay him his court costs. Verdict for the plaintiff.
Well, the plaintiff is finally going to get his $500 back. Mr. Adams, let me ask you a question. Was there a receipt when you bought it?
Yes. And in fact, we wrote it out.
He says somebody showed up with that receipt. What? How do you answer that? How do you figure that out?
I don't know how that's possible. I don't know
That's
how
what I
that's
thought.
possible. No one else had that receipt.
Well, Mr. Ross, what do you think about that? He said he did not give that receipt to anybody.
Well, someone shows up saying he's Mr. Adams' friend, has a copy of the exact same receipt that him and I had, and said he's here to pick it up for Mr. Adams. I didn't think nothing of it. Well, so I gave him the treadmill and went about my day.
That's the big mystery here. We'll find out more about that. What do you think about the judge's decision? She thinks you just took him for a ride, and in effect, we're trying to steal his money. What do you think?
Well, first off, I'm not a thief. I believe in the law of attraction, and what goes around comes around, so I would never deliberately try to do anybody wrong. And I thought he was trying to do me wrong, because after the treadmill was given to the guy, he texted me saying, can I come pick it up? So I thought he was trying to scam me, and then that's when I blocked him and stopped communicating with him.
Yeah, well, look, it cost you. You have to give him the money. $500 you owe him, the judge says, and
that's fine.
Judgment against you.
So I got ripped off.
Okay, Mr. Adams, I don't know how you got ripped off. Mr. Adams, let me ask you something. What'd you want the treadmill for? What was your goal?
Well, my goal was to try to get into better shape. And I subsequently went out and purchased a different treadmill. So now I have that opportunity to try to improve my physical health. And with the current situation being housebound because of the COVID virus, the treadmill comes in very handy.
Well, good luck to you. I hope it works. Thank you very much. All right, now let's join Judge Marilyn Milian and her husband, Judge John, for another session of After the Verdict.
Marilyn, there's an area of the law called agency, where you might send someone as your agent on your behalf to go pick something up. And then if you do that, that agent answers to you. And let's say if the plaintiff in this case had sent his cousin Eddie over with a pickup truck to get the treadmill and cousin Eddie vanished with it, that would have been the plaintiff's problem, right?
Absolutely, if that was proven.
But that's not the scenario that was presented to you.
No, I mean, to me, when I see the nonstop texting on the part of the plaintiff trying to get it, the idea that the defendant would have released it to someone other than the plaintiff is a little sketchy. Let's assume, in the light most favorable to the defendant, he actually did that. I mean, I don't know.
You have your doubts.
I doubt that happened, but let's assume for a second it did happen. Apparently, he has no evidence that the plaintiff did send somebody. I don't know what his theory is. Maybe that the friend of the plaintiff's knew and went over there and stole his treadmill or something.
He didn't take a
He'd
signature from the guy,
He'd still be negligent in releasing it. Exactly. You
Nothing.
can't just release it to someone who didn't buy it. You know.
Certainly, a receipt is not like cash. It's not a bearer instrument where you pick one up and all of a sudden you're entitled to whatever's on it.
No, of course not. And the plaintiff still has the original receipt because he sent it into evidence to the court. So, at best, some stranger in the night showed him a copy of a receipt and he said, sure, take someone else's property, and he doesn't think he's going to have to pay the $500? Ridiculous.
Either that or he sold it twice.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, the way it seems to me, you're going to win this on two fronts. Number one, your nephew, signed a document saying that he is obligated to pay. The second reason is, even if he didn't sign the document, if he let the guy in your house and that guy stole stuff from you, your nephew vouched for that guy and your nephew is responsible. So simply, tough luck for your nephew. We'll see you next time.